Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and haunts.
Today's story takes us to our first library that we'll be discussing. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Erica.
Let's get into it. So, I was excited to discuss this with you because when I first met you in 2018, you wanted to be a librarian.
I did. That's so funny. I had so many job choices when I was younger. I just could not figure out what I wanted to do. But yeah, I love libraries. I still want to be a librarian.
Oh my gosh. Tobacco cessation research, paralegal, librarian.
Yeah, I'll do it all. It'll
Paranormal podcast. Many hats. I was excited because I always love libraries as well, but I feel like they can be really spooky too.
Yes. In the daytime when there's a lot of people, I like being in there. Or even daytime, it's super bright by the windows. But anytime it starts getting dark, I'm ready to leave.
Yeah. And depending on what the building looks like Hillman Library, which is Pitt's library, that is not going to be freaky ever.
Right.
But older libraries with cool architecture.
And the ones that creak a lot. Oof. Today's
story is about the Osterhout Free Library. And I really hope I'm pronouncing that the right way. I wrote down the pronunciation. And this is in Wilkes-Barre Library District, and it's part of the Luzerne County Library System.
Okay.
So funding for this library came from Isaac Smith Osterhout, who died in 1882 and left a large portion of his will to create the library. In 1887, the creator of the Dewey Decimal System was signed in to act as an advisor. So this place is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
I know. The board bought an old Presbyterian church and converted it into a library, preserving much of the original Gothic structure. The church had been built in 1849, and because it's a church, there's actually a graveyard on site of this library. But the bodies were exhumed and relocated.
Which is never, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But exhuming bodies and moving them always rubs me the wrong way. Just
Jenny
a tiny
Wade.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, it's never a good thing to disturb those that are resting.
Yeah. And it said that they tried to do it as, correctly as they could.
Gotcha.
They got a priest to come in and bless it. But I agree, there's no right way to move a dead body.
Right.
So the library was finally opened in January of 1889, and it was one of the first libraries in northeastern PA. It's really old.
Yeah.
And it actually had one of the first children's departments in the whole country, and their children's department opened in 1904.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but if you think about it back then, I feel like less emphasis was placed on children's education, so why would they have a book section?
True.
The original collection was around 10,000 volumes, and honestly, I have no clue if that's a lot or not.
I know. I don't know back then. I mean, I assume back then maybe.
Yeah. I'm gonna think back then it was, but I also have stats on present. So, like many of our locations, this place is not without tragedy. In 1972, there was a flood that caused the library to lose 70,000 books.
Oh my gosh.
So it had built up.
Yeah.
And then it was all gone. So they took a break trying to, rebuild the library and get more books. And by 1975, the collection was rebuilt to 125,000 volumes.
Okay, that's good.
The only other time the library closed in its history is 1999, when it closed briefly to become computerized.
Oh.
I know.
Digital.
I know, digital era. Get that dial up.
That's so cool, though. I know I said this last time when we were talking about the theater, but it's so cool when these places literally go from era to era and stay in business.
Right. Think about that. You can visit this place and people could have sat in the same seats in 1889 and read books. I
love that part of history. Just thinking of people doing the same things that you did years ago.
But that also lends itself to some ghosts.
Right.
And the library does lean into it, offering paranormal investigations in October. So we're going to start with the director at the library because he has shared a lot of stories and he's worked there for a while. His name is Richard Miller. And he spoke of many investigations that have happened there, saying that they've shown proof of tons of activity. He told a story specifically of when his aunt visited him. She apparently swears that she heard someone repeatedly calling her name as he gave her a tour of the library. He also told a story of his predecessor, and the predecessor says they were looking everywhere for a book with no luck, when suddenly a book fell off the shelf and it was the exact book that they needed.
That's too coincidental to be a coincidence.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's too on the nose. Yeah.
Correct.
So this location was featured on Ghost Hunters, and the show added some additional history that I didn't find in my initial research. So the land goes back even further than we thought. So the land was tied to the Revolutionary War. They explained that during the Revolutionary War, the natives in the area actually sided with the British. And there was something called the Wyoming Massacre in the area, where the natives scalped the revolutionaries for being associated with anti-British sentiments. That's the additional history that they give credence to on the show. So the staff explains that specifically the basement has a lot of the activity. Staff have heard their name called, just like the director's aunt did. They've seen shadowy figures, and they've also seen a doppelganger of someone that's alive. And this is the first time we've experienced something like this on the podcast. The doppelganger looks so much like the man that staff have confused the doppelganger with their coworker.
Oh my gosh.
So imagine you are like in my house walking around and you're like, Sarah, and the person just turns and looks at you, and then I come up the stairs.
Bruh.
Right? But
that might be even more terrifying than somebody disappearing in front of me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not like a doppelganger that will, like, let me say it differently, I guess. It's not a shapeshifter.
Right.
It's a doppelganger of this man. Specifically. Right. It's always this man.
And it's a spirit? Like,
that's
this
what they
thing
think
is spirit?
It is. It's not the man.
Terrifying.
So that is crazy to me.
Yeah, that is.
I'd be like, no.
No, because we have evidence in quotation marks of like doppelgangers. Like, people will find pictures of like people from the 1800s that look like celebrities. You know what I mean? Like, there have been, so we know that those people exist. I guess it just makes sense that eventually one of them would have been a spirit, but it's very weird that the two of them are in the exact same place.
Right. Or what I think is it's a spirit that's just taking on that, almost like a glamour.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right? Because...
creepy. But...
very creepy. So that is the basement. The stairs/second floor area have some activity, and staff see more shadow figures here on the stairs going up. And when they see the shadow figures, it tends to coincide with books falling off the shelves. There are also reports of staff members getting shocks when they visit the religious and witchcraft sections of the second floor.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, in only those sections. When a longtime staff member passed away, for 3 days after his death, there were scraps of paper on the stairs leading to his office, and his office door was ajar. Each day, they cleaned up the paper and shut the door, only to come in to find the same thing had happened the next day.
Oh.
They checked cameras, and there's no proof of anybody doing that.
That's really strange. I wonder if, like, I don't know if they checked, but it was scraps of paper. Were they big enough to have, like, anything written on them?
It just said that it's, like, ripped up paper.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really crazy. I wonder what the heck the significance could be.
Well, when they investigate the basement, they capture sound and they capture a man laughing. They play it for the director, and he confirms that it's the man that passed away.
Oh.
And they say that he was a jokester, so the director was saying maybe he's laughing at them having to clean this up every day.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's so sweet.
Yeah, I know. It's so sweet.
Yeah. So when they start the investigation, a different investigation, they immediately capture a voice saying, in response to them talking about it being haunted. So imagine we're talking right now about this place being haunted. You go back and listen, and you hear someone going, in the background.
Oh, that's no. That's a no. I think I would make you edit the episodes from then on. I'm done.
So while investigating the second floor, they record a voice saying, "Go home." And they ask a spirit to move a book and say they will go home if the spirit can put a book on the floor. And before they do this, they make sure all of the books are pushed in. When they walk through after saying that, they find a book is pulled out as if someone were trying to pull it to the floor.
Oh.
Yeah. So either the spirits didn't have enough power or maybe decided against it, just wanted to show that they're there. So they return to this section on a different night, and a book is pulled out while they're walking between the stacks. So they actually capture it on camera.
Oh my God.
And they touch the book, and they say that it feels really cold, as if it sat in a freezer.
That's crazy. So whatever entity wanted them to leave before possibly wanted them to leave again.
They're like, that wasn't enough. I'm going to throw this book in front of your face.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. In the basement, they ask the spirit to make a noise because they think that there's that, the doppelganger and then also the shadow spirits.
Right.
So they say, please make a noise, and they capture what sounds like a voice. They try to engage with the spirit using a machine that lights up when touched by the spirit. We've talked about it in a few other podcasts. And they use it to show proof of the spirit by asking it to tap certain patterns. So it'll be like, if you're there, tap 3 quick taps, and it does, and it lights up. And then they say, I think it's like 2 for yes, 1 for no. And through the questioning, they learned that it was someone that used to work there. While doing this, they hear pounding on the floor above them. So they immediately radio their team members to ask if they're on the first floor. And they were on the second floor. So no one and nothing was on the first floor.
Ooh.
That could have made the pounding. Yeah.
And it's pounding.
Yeah,
like
it's loud. Yeah. You can hear it in the show. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So then they go back to talking to the spirit down there once the pounding stops, and they ask specifically about the Wyoming massacre, and the pounding starts and gets closer to them. So a team member decides to go investigate the sound, but when he goes to walk up the stairs, there's a sound as if someone hits their head, so much so that the other team member says, "Are you okay?" But they show another camera where he actually was standing still when that sound happened.
Oh my God. So it sounds like a clang?
Yeah, like it sounds like someone hits their head.
Oh my gosh.
So almost as if the spirit was trying to like exit up the stairs.
Yes.
Which is something I always think is interesting, right? Because if these are spirits, I mean, we always see ghosts pass through walls and stuff. Do they need to take the stairs? Can they just like float up?
That's a good question. I feel like the answer should be yes. But like in other things that we've talked about, like we've heard footsteps. So it's like, how would that even be possible? If you can float through wall, and like, what does floating through a wall sound like?
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, how do we know?
But also the Brandywine Battlefield Guardian ghost he experiences the world as a ghost as he did when he was alive.
Right.
So I wonder if that's how it happens.
True. Like maybe, oh my gosh, maybe they can float through the wall, but they don't because they're so used to taking the stairs.
Right. That's true. Maybe they don't even know that they can.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Interesting.
So they then visit the section where the staff have reported being shocked, and they say the name of various people that are associated with the library and the general area, like the people that funded it, Isaac Smith Osterhout and his wife. They didn't have any kids, so they say that the library was their baby, and they use that to try to engage them. But when they say certain names, the investigators actually get shocked.
Ooh.
They then hear a sound and go look for what it could have been. And when they step on a portion of the floor, it sounds exactly like the sound. So they hear like a creak, and so they decide to go up the staircase. And as they're walking up the staircase, they step and they're like, oh my God, that's it.
And no one was up there.
Oh
my God.
Yeah, it was crazy to see.
Yes.
And so it sounds as if someone or something was previously walking there.
Yeah.
And so they try to debunk it all at the end, which is something that I really like about ghost hunters, because they are skeptical even though they're believers. So the only thing that they really debunked at the end was the shocks, because they took a look at the fabric that people were wearing and how they were walking, like if they were touching the carpet or the stacks of books, and they said that the shocks could be based on the fabric.
Okay.
Because it's like thin stacks of books to walk through, like thin walkways through the stacks.
That makes sense.
But that's the only thing that they discredited. Like I said, even when they play back the sounds for the director, he was like, "Yup, everything sounds legit." So, definitely haunted.
Yes.
Time to answer the question. Would you enter this place of paranormal phenomena? And I definitely would. The ghost seems super cool, not really malicious, and it looks absolutely beautiful since it used to be a church.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be so cool to do an investigation in October. I think that would be amazing. Because I agree with you. I think the ghosts seem super nice, nothing too mean or evil or like nothing scary there, which is great. It sounds like they're just people kind of on their route of life. Even the guy that had passed in modern times and was leaving like little jokes. It's like he assumedly knew that he was a ghost and was purposefully like making fun of it. So I think it'd be super cool.
Yeah, that is something the director said. He said that he loves that people think so positively about the library that they want to be there even after death. I would love to go there for a ghost hunt, but I feel like we're filling our October with ghost hunts. We're like, and here in Eastern State. Yeah. So that's the story of our first library on the podcast. Tune in next Thursday to see what paranormal phenomena we discuss next.